Download Tarang online radio app from Google Play Store.
May I please request Honorable Ministers Shri Suresh Prabhu and Shri Anand Geete to kindly release the Auto Expo Fair catalogue.
पर्यावरण फ्रेंडली हमें अपने उत्पादनों का निर्माण करना है, चाहे व्हीकल्स हो, वाहन हो, तो सबसे पहले जिस इंडस्ट्री द्वारा इस वाहन को निर्माण किया जाता है उस इंडस्ट्री को सुरक्षित रखना, बचाए रखना, ये टॉप प्रायोरिटी हमारी है, ये प्राथमिकता हमारी है। तो जो भी हमें करना है वो इंडस्ट्री को साथ में लेकर करना है। आने वाले समय की मांग को हमें पूरा करना है और आने वाला समय चाहे इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी का हो, आने वाला समय शायद हाइड्रोजन कार का हो, आने वाला समय जो पर्यावरण फ्रेंडली, पर्यावरण का संतुलन रखने वाले, जीरो एमिशन करने वाले व्हीकल का हो। तो इस दिशा में हमें धीरे धीरे आगे बढ़ना है और इस दिशा में बढ़ते हुए इंडस्ट्री को हमें बरकरार रखना है, इंडस्ट्री को हमें पूरा सहयोग करना है और इंडस्ट्री को साथ में लेकर इन सारे सपनों को साकार करने का प्रयास करना है। और इस दिशा में मेरा मंत्रालय, भारी उद्योग मंत्रालय, सही दिशा में इस उद्योग जगत को सहयोग करने का प्रयास कर रहा है। बड़ी मात्रा में निवेश भारतवर्ष में हो रहा है, बड़ी मात्रा में विदेशी निवेश हो रहा है और ये सारा अधिकतर निवेश ये ऑटो सेक्टर में है। विश्व की सबसे जितनी भी बड़ी बड़ी कार निर्माण करने वाले उद्योग हैं वो सारे उद्योग आज हमारे देश में हैं और नए नए उद्योग आना चाहते हैं। वैसे विश्व की सबसे बड़ा बाजार विश्व का यदि कोई है तो वो भारतवर्ष है और इस बाजार पर विश्व के सभी उद्योजकों का लक्ष्य इस भारतवर्ष के इस बाजार पर है। तो हम उनका स्वागत करते हैं।
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the kind presence of Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Shri Suresh Prabhu with us, who is indeed instrumental in giving an impetus to the industry with his able leadership and vision.
Good morning, friends. Making at least 20% of India's GDP must come from manufacturing. And as my good friend and colleague Mr. Geeta just mentioned, that automobiles is one of the major manufacturers in India. And therefore, we'd like to work with you to find out how we can increase overall manufacturing in India, and in that manufacturing, the contribution of automobile sector, which includes auto components as well. But as I said, I must thank you for being the first pioneer into this concept of becoming part of a real global value chain. To make this happen, as I said, we want to ensure that we will become competitive globally. We need proper infrastructure for this. And I was talking to both ACMA as well as SIAM just now, that on 24th of February, we organized with CI a partnership summit in Andhra Pradesh. I will talk to the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh and will make sure that we create a global scale infrastructure for an auto cluster in Andhra Pradesh, because Vizag is on the east coast, therefore we can have a port-based infrastructure for automobile industry, which will have all components of automobiles can be created there. And I told Mr. Firodia that prepare a blueprint which we can discuss, and the state government and central government together will work together to create the infrastructure along with the industry. So that this industry, which will be the users of the infrastructure, also will have a role to play, have a say in the matter of creating what kind of infrastructure we should create. Same thing, we'll do it on a west coast. Safety will be an important component, and therefore I am very happy that you are working on it. Also thinking about a new emerging areas which you cannot just ignore is the electric vehicles. I think that is something which is inevitably bound to happen. What is important is only that electric vehicles should not be necessarily be using electricity only from grid, which is again generated from fossil fuels. You must think about electricity which will be used from renewable sources, so that the cars will not emit much of the greenhouse gases, which is one of the principal causes for climate change. And mobility, transportation is one of the principal emitters of greenhouse gases, even in Delhi and in all other major cities of India, but also globally. So therefore, changing the energy mix and making electric vehicles based on the renewable energy is something which will be very necessary. So I think I'm sure you'll think about that. I'm very happy that so many foreign companies are participating here. In fact, we have a very big strategy that will work with all our partners globally. Let us understand what is your need to be investment to be made in India. We have a program called Invest India. We will be doing a hand-holding with you to ensure that you get right partners, you get right investment patterns, all the issues related to investment are properly sorted out, and therefore we will work with you. I will ensure that we will organize events to promote this business globally. In fact, I already said that if you feel the new markets, whether in Africa, whether in Central Asia, whether in Middle East, you want to go and try there, I will lead a business delegation to ensure that you get market access in those areas. In fact, we are having excellent relationship with now most of the countries. We are opening up markets wherever there's a challenge of market access. We are working with the governments there, and we are trying to work on that. So our strategy is very clear, that at least services plus merchandise exports, by when we touch $5 trillion, it should be at least $1 trillion of merchandise plus service exports. At least $1 trillion of export that we want to target, and we are working towards a clear strategy for it. Auto industry should also contribute towards it. And as I said, very significant, interesting part of the auto industry, which I don't know whether you capture it either in ACMA or in SIAM, is a service industry that auto industry supports. You don't understand the contribution of auto industry to promote services sector. In fact, the services sector, which is 2/3 of India's GDP, auto component and auto, not so much auto component, but auto industry as a whole, also creates service sector. Have you prepared any study on it? I think you must do this study and identify, because that is something which you should do. There is a great contribution, because all the service centers, all the after-sales services, whatever happens, this is all part of a service sector. I think that's what you should try to do. I really look forward to working very closely with you. All the best to you. And as the Commerce and Industry Minister, I will assure full support to make sure that these cars now will drive at a much higher speed than they have been hiding. Not the cars, but your industry. So I think we'll accelerate, put an accelerator on your speed of the industry so that they will work on a higher speed. But again, I'm saying, because you are integrating safety standards, the accelerator can be even higher. Thank you very much.
I now have lived 2.5 years as German ambassador to India in this country. And I have two suggestions. The first one, wouldn't it make a lot of sense to make driving safer? I think road safety has to be enhanced. And Germany can be a partner here. Because the German industry has a lot of knowledge and a lot of solutions on road safety. And to think that these safety solutions in automobile industry are costly is wrong. They are quite affordable by now, and otherwise other countries like Brazil would not have introduced these solutions in their markets. And my final suggestion is, we have to confront pollution, obviously. And that means introduce Bharat 6 as early as possible. And give incentives to those manufacturers who are willing to introduce Bharat 6 technology before April 2020. The German car industry is ready and willing to support this step. Ladies and gentlemen, in a global market, we can only be successful if we work together on global challenges. Thank you very much, and I give the floor to Dr. Bräunig from WDR.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nair. The strong welcome support by the federal German government. Firstly, I want to create more attention on India's potential that leads to the strong and increasing German industry to be engaged with in India. Secondly, to make more attention on the fact that this year, for the first time, in the Indian passenger market will overtake the German market in terms of volume for the first time. Thirdly, that leads to one strong reason why we Germans demonstrate here our performance with our presence at Auto Expo 2018. And last but not least, the potential of mutual trade is not exhausted, and a new attempt, as Dr. Nair said, I would like strongly to confirm, is need to reach an FTA between the EU and India. Why are we here? India is on a path of growth. In 2017, the gross domestic product increased by close to 7%, and we expect further growth of 7.4%. In our VDA's forecast, we assume that in the current year, the Indian passenger car market will expand by 10% to a volume of almost 3.6 million units. And the potential has not yet been exhausted, not by a long way. The number of passenger cars here is still low by international comparison. At present, India has around about 24 passenger cars for every 1,000 inhabitants, while Germany, for example, has 560 passenger cars for every 1,000 inhabitants. So, thirdly, the German automotive industry. Germany is producing in Germany 5.6 million cars this year, exporting 77% of that, and on top we produce round about 10.8 million German cars outside Germany. So this is our international presence, two sides of one coin, foreign direct investment and free trade, and all the suppliers being engaged here at the Auto Expo demonstrate their performance in supporting their big customers, not only German ones, but the Indian as well. Here in New Delhi, supported by the federal government and the IGC, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, our suppliers are present, along with newcomers to the Indian market. German passenger car makers are also exhibiting at the Auto Expo 2018, the motor show that is taking place almost simultaneously in Greater Noida. German car makers have their own production facilities in India, like Audi in Aurangabad, and of course BMW Group in Chennai, Daimler in Pune, Volkswagen Chakan near Pune. This is the 7th time that the VDA has initiated a German pavilion here at the Auto Expo in Delhi with the slogan "Made in Germany," supported through the official foreign trade show program by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy and AUMA, the Association of the German Trade Fair Industry. It's being realized by the trade show organizer IMA. Thank you for all this great support. We, as the initiator, providing local support for participation at the German Pavilion during the trade show, and for business information, cooperation requests and media inquiries, we are at the stand the entire show. In addition, VDA organizes a range of activities to support the presence of the German automotive industry in India. One important activity I would like to mention is the meeting of our Indo-German Working Group on Automotive this week. It was formed in 2007. It comprises representatives of the Indian and German governments, important automotive institutions, and the trade associations ACMA, SIAM, and VDA. It covers topics like all keys to mobility in the automotive sector in both countries, such as environment, safety, alternative powertrains, all the way to the regulatory conditions for bilateral trade. We wish to thank in particular the German Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure for supplying active support to this working group, and you, Mrs. Worringen, for your personal dedication. A big hand to Ms. Worringen. Last year, German suppliers delivered parts and components worth 514 million euros to the Indian market, and in return, Indian suppliers exported parts worth 205 million euros from India to Germany. Obviously, too little attention is given to the fact here in India, in my view, that the Indian automotive industry has a surplus in the trade in passenger cars with Germany, whereas in the first 11 months of 2017, passenger cars worth 30 million euros were sold from Germany to India. India supplied passenger cars worth 240 million euros to Germany. I'm therefore very keen to see the negotiations on a free trade agreement between EU and India resumed soon. Today they are more or less on hold. So far, the Indian government has not ruled out its position, and in fact, its passenger car trade surplus should facilitate such a move. It's in the India's own interest, because this large aspiring country also wishes to increase its own exports. And I appreciate it very much that the Minister for Commerce and Industry confirmed this morning his goal for India to increase its exports from India to the world. For this, free access to the international markets will be absolutely essential for Germany as well as for India. So in my view, stable direct investment and free trade are two sides of the same coin, and we should benefit both from these ideas, India and Germany. The presence of the German suppliers here in India demonstrates at the common booth the great expertise of the large and medium-sized supply companies and their commitment to both sides of this coin. Together they stand for trade with India and investment from Germany. Some examples from our suppliers of the German Pavilion you have delivered in my statement, and I thank you very much for joining us again, Frau Wöring, Herr Steinrücke, Dr. Nayer, and many success for this Auto Expo for our German companies. Thank you for your attention.
So the Prime Minister of India has talked about the electrification of motor vehicles. And where do you see the German participation coming from, and how committed Germany is?
I really appreciate the commitment of the Indian government to introduce electric mobility. This is the same decision the German government took, and we lean heavily on the German industry in order to provide the solutions for the early introduction of electric mobility. But we must be realist. It's not the day after tomorrow. It's not possible in a very short time frame. We must simply see that we live for some time longer with combustion engines. And that's the same for Germany and for India. And so we need to early introduction of Bharat 6. We need to honor those companies who provide solutions to deal with Bharat 6 with incentives. We must look into road safety, etc. We must not forget the transitional technology, and that's hybrid cars. We must not leave them out, because we can't sort of overjump transitional technologies and go tomorrow to electric mobility. So we must not forget, as a transitional technology, hybrid cars, and then, of course, have incentives in order to introduce electric mobility as soon as possible. Here, German car companies have the technology, they're providing these cars, and they are providing automotive parts in order to allow this. But here it's very important to see increasing tariffs for import doesn't help to achieve an early introduction of electric mobility. If companies want to test the market, they need to be free to introduce electric cars in India, to test the market, to induce customers to get used to electric mobility, and then you facilitate the easing of the establishing of electric mobility in India as well.
Sorry, in April, Bharat 6 is going to be implemented in India, which is just around a couple of months from now. And where do you see the German companies in competition with French companies who are a little bit ahead, it is being said in the industry. They're a little bit ahead in the electric car market. So do you see a competition coming from French companies?
I would contest immediately the French companies are ahead of German technology at all. If you go for electric mobility in cars, and you can ask Dr. Bräunig on the details on this, the German technology is your choice.
Do you think that the
German automotive industry, if you look at those markets, for example, in Europe, where the e-mobility is due to many public subsidies running up, the German automotive industry has more than 50% market share in e-mobility cars, like in Norway, like in Netherlands or Sweden. So you must look at the capacities of industry. Germany is producing in Germany 5.6 million cars, exports 77%, and is producing 10.8 million German cars outside Germany. So look at our strong commitment for India here, the Germans, as well the component companies and the big OEMs here in India as well. So we provide the solutions for the Indian industrial strategy and are here for closer cooperation with India.
So you mean to say that...
I recommend you to go to Noida. I was there yesterday. I looked at an e-bicycle, bike, a very fast motorbike. You can look at this. You can look at the e-cars of BMW and Mercedes and Bosch Motors, and you see the technology that is readily available to be introduced in India.
So my last question will be very logical, will be, are you prepared when India is going to roll electric vehicles in a big way pan-India?
Yes. And you look at Greater Noida, what, for example, Daimler or BMW have launched yesterday. They are strongly committed in e-mobility also to provide to the world. It, of course, depends on many frameworks like charging infrastructure to come up and to convince Indian consumers as well. But we are on the road, and you will see up on 2019 a huge amount of new electric models from all German car makers for all over the world. So this kind of increasing cooperation, we are here. This is why the German government strongly supports this common German booth and why the German ambassador to Germany is present here, which is a great honor, and support us.
Do you see that there will be a dip in the combustible car and there will be a profit of your premium car of Audi and BMW will see a dip in their sales once the electric car comes into in a big way in India?
I do see worldwide that there is a switch in automotive car models, but there is in no one market in the world only one solution. So you will see a variety of powertrains, but the switch to more electrification is the clear line. And even when our car makers say in 2025 we will provide, let's say, 25% of our car fleet electrified, then of course there is still a huge amount of cars provided with combustion engines, and it's the combination of both to provide to every single market the right offer.
As the Honorable Ambassador said that it is $500 billion component industry which is coming to India as terms of export to India. But do you see there is a change when the electric component for the car and the electric car comes, and how will that, have you done your calculation, how in next 5 years, what will be the rise in business in terms of electric cars alone?
It will be a great transformation process for the entire industrial world, not only for the Germans, but for your Indian component supplier companies as well. It will move many, many business cases, and all the hybrid cars, which means you have a combustion engine and an electric powertrain in one car, will help to transform this industrial challenge.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
हम हैं तरंग ऑनलाइन रेडियो वर्ल्ड। Download Tarang online radio app from Google Play Store.